we've been probably on the more conservative side of like the whole like should Peter Vermes still be the coach discussion. Like we've for a long time been like, well, the ownership didn't give the support, this or that. It's becoming increasingly difficult to defend a lack of change in some way. What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of No Other Pod. I'm Jimmy, along with my good buddy Daniel Kooser. Dan, what's going on, my friend?
You just sound happy to be here. You just sound, that is enthusiasm if I ever heard it, folks.
I'm always happy to talk to you.
We're excited to talk Sporting Kansas City soccer. Why wouldn't you be? That's why you're here, to hear about all the fun stuff we have to say.
Yeah, there was a moment in time last week where people had a sliver of hope. There was just a brief amount of light on the horizon, potentially, maybe kind of, sort of, not really, but almost. You could convince yourself, and not so much this week.
Pretty silly to believe that. All of us, look at all this egg. Look at all this egg on our face. We're dumb. We don't know what we're talking about.
So yeah, obviously another loss for Sporting Kansas City. We'll talk about that. Not the best game, really, in any way you slice it or dice it, no matter the metrics you look at. It was not good, but we'll break it down here for you in just a little bit. How you doing, my friend? Your recovery going well?
Going well, man. Been doing things without the walker, but taking it to places like a sporting event. Sure, I don't get bumped and fall over or whatever. So
yeah.
I can't imagine I would, but you never know.
Yeah, I'm sure it. Hopefully, people see somebody with a walker and they're a little bit more aware.
Buddy, I get them eyes. You think I'm a supermodel? The way people be checking me out as I walk by. I know it's my butt. I know everyone's looking at this tuchus, but it's eyes up here, baby, eyes up here.
I know. My cousin's husband, he has he's visually impaired. He has something called night blindness, where like he literally can't see at night. He's got a bunch of other eye issues going on as well, but his vision's not great. So he does have a blind cane that he doesn't need all the time, but he brings with him, especially if he's going to be in crowded places, because it's the same type of deal. You pull out the blind cane and you start putting it in front of you. It's like parting the Red Sea of crowds.
Sure.
So I imagine that
ain't nobody gonna block you.
No.
I got a buddy with no legs, and I push him in a wheelchair sometimes, and I'm like, everyone's moving.
Like
everyone's moving. Crazy.
Well, I'm glad you're feeling better. I'm glad it wasn't as cold for you. I'm sure that sucked when it was like 30 degrees.
Still kind of chilly though. Still kind of chilly, but I think that's just me right now. I think I'm just kind of cold at all times.
No, it was a little. It was the first game in the press box where we opened the windows, because I don't know. You've been up in the press box, I think, right? So you've seen how the windows that they have, they can be closed and it's just like panels of glass, or they can open them up and you get the ambiance. It's much better when it's open because you can hear the crowd and everything.
But sure, that's a little more exciting for you.
Yeah, but when it's cold or when it's 8,000 degrees, they sometimes keep them closed. But this was the first game of the year where they opened them up, and it was great. And but until, I would say, I was just actually wearing the sweatshirt. Look at this. I got my classic No Other Pod sweatshirt on.
Hanging in there. That looks good.
I was just wearing this, but it was about the last 15 minutes of the game. I was like, I think I got to put another jacket on because it's getting a little chilly.
Yeah. So, I just it's fine, man. I had that ADA seating again, and
we can have that this time all year, or are they going to move you back at some point?
No. I only did it for 3 months, because after 3 months, I'm supposed to be
right as rain.
Right as rain. So we'll see. I'm at 6 weeks now, so we'll see what happens.
That's fast.
It's fast.
So, are you going back to your old seats?
Yeah. We'll go back, and I've been doing some stairs here and there, so that shouldn't be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see.
Do you have a preference in terms of like viewpoint from your old seats to where you're sitting now? Because you're a little bit more on the side, but also a little higher where you're currently at.
Yeah, sitting where we are now, a little bit on the side. That's obviously a doper view, right? Like it looks, you can see kind of everything. But really, we're in that corner flag area, and that's not a bad seat either. It is. I mean, if someone scores on that goal, not us, we're not going to do it. But if someone scores on that goal, they do come to that corner flag often, and it's kind of a neat celebration. Not for us, but the other team usually.
Or if there's a corner kick going on, you can heckle, whoever's there. Kick the
Yeah,
corner. Now, but you're also in the corner where the away supporters typically are.
that's right. And that's kind of fun too, man. I don't shy away from the away supporters. I think it's really cool to see people that travel down there. There were some LAFC people over there. That was kind of cool. And I just kind of think like what goes into that mindset of traveling to Kansas City from LA, because obviously the other way around, I love going to LA. I love going up there and doing the whole Disney thing. And but that maybe someone's trying to see all the stadiums like we like to do as well.
Right. Yeah. I do know, I know somebody who works for St. Louis, and that's obviously, we're not going to talk about that game because it's 2 games from now, but it's the next home game. And they are bringing more than 500 supporters officially for their supporter section.
That's pretty dope. I'm sad I don't I am busy. I don't get to attend that game. So I did have to get rid of my tickets for that. I didn't switch those to the ADA, probably sold them to some sad St. Louis fan,
Yeah, we'll talk about that game as it gets a little closer, but I have a feeling that might feel like a St. Louis home game as we get closer to that one.
The way attendance is looking, it's pretty sad, man. People were clearing out again towards the end of the game, not waiting for that final whistle.
They announced 15,200 and change attendance, but of course, when they announce attendance, that's tickets sold. So that's a little bit more than 3,000 short of a sellout. But I don't think there was 50. I mean, I would guess there was like maybe 13, 14,000 at most people there actually in attendance to start the game. And by the time it got to, the 70th minute, it was down to, 10, 11, 12,000 at most. It's not the best right now.
It was crazy to see people dip out in like the 70th.
Yeah. So, before we talk about the game fully, I do want to, give a shout out to one of our listeners, Brandon Pollard, sent us an email, asking if we've seen the latest Behind the Shield episode. I don't know why I said it that way. Behind the Shield episode on the sportingkc.com and the YouTube page with goalkeeper John Pulskamp talking about Ramadan, which, if there is a Sporting KC video to be watched, I will tell you that Daniel Kooser has watched it.
Seen it. And I shot it out to you and said, man,
Yep.
I was stunned. I did not know that John Pulskamp was Muslim. I had no freaking idea. Obviously, they don't wear shirts saying like, this is what I am.
It's my book.
But I was like, as I was watching this, I was like, okay, I'm in. This doesn't even really have to do with soccer other than the fact that he doesn't like eat all day and has to wait till nighttime.
That's the crazy part. So for those, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be an expert because I don't know as much as I should, honestly. But for those who don't know, during Ramadan, people who are of the Muslim faith and are practicing, they fast during the day, sun up to sundown during Ramadan, and that includes water, is my understanding. They don't drink water. And so this is a thing that is always interesting to talk about from an athlete perspective, because, I know in college basketball, as you're getting into some of the tournaments, there are a number of players who are dealing with this. Obviously, the NBA is going on currently, and then soccer is the other major sport around the world that's happening. And especially in soccer, there is a pretty large Muslim player population. And so if the game is happening before sundown starts, then these athletes, professional, collegiate, otherwise, are playing in the midst of a fast. And I can't imagine, they're professional athletes, they have nutritionists, like how they're prepared for this. But like, as hard as it is to play in a professional sports game just regularly, I imagine it's that much more difficult, when you're in the midst of the fast. So I think it's just really commendable, sort of not just the physical strength, but also like the mental fortitude that you have to be that committed to your belief and then still compete at a high level.
When I played rec league on Saturdays, and I did have a guy who fasted for Ramadan, and I think he just had to miss some games.
Yeah.
Around that time. And I hated that because he was so good. I was like, oh man, I mean, can't even be mad at you.
if it's a rec league, yeah, I'm not putting myself in that situation. I'm sure, professional athletes the night before, they can work with their nutritionists and say, okay, I'm gonna eat this, the evening before, or maybe wake up early and have a good nutritious breakfast before the sun comes up. You can prepare yourself a little bit more with the help of your nutrition and medical team. If it's a rec league, I'm just like, sorry, y'all, I'm gonna be at home fasting. But they did, we didn't talk about this last week, but they did move the kickoff last week 3 minutes to allow for players who were fasting to be able to break their fast, have some water, have a protein bar or something. So they didn't have to stop kickoff 3 minutes after it started to allow it. So I thought that was, pretty cool of MLS to be flexible in that way. But yeah, check it out. I mean, Pulskamp is a super interesting guy. I'd love to have him on the podcast here sometime. I think I remember at some point along the way hearing about his beliefs. But yeah, I didn't remember it off the top of my head. So this was a really interesting video to watch. So thank you, Brandon, for pointing that out.
Well, do you remember we had met up and talked with a guy who I haven't heard from in a long time, who was Pulskamp's cousin out in California. You remember this?
Galaxy game, yeah.
And he was
you a beer and then didn't realize that you didn't drink a beer, so he ended up buying me 2 beers.
Well, didn't he buy me a water? And I was like, man, I didn't even need a water. Like they got water fountains. I can't buy plastic.
I think I remember he came back with a couple of beers and you were like, oh, I really appreciate it. I'm drinking. He was like, well, here, he gave it to me. But then I think he came back and bought you a water.
I know. I mean, he asked if I wanted a water, and I was like, I don't need a water. And he was like, here's a water. And I was like,
you're super nice, dude.
Don't go buy a $7 bottle of water. I could drink the lukewarm shit, it's for hydration, not for taste.
No, he was super nice, but yeah.
But he gave us some insider info and was like, I was talking to John, and John sounds like he's the next man up.
And that was what, 2 years ago? So yeah,
too long. Disneyland's been calling my name. It's a whole thing,
It's let's see. Yeah, I went to Disneyland earlier this year when I was out visiting family. So it's a fun place. I'll be at Disney World in a couple months because I got a work conference in Orlando tacked on a couple days on the end of it. And I was like, well, if I'm here, might as well go.
See, if I'm cleared for like roller coasters and stuff, why wouldn't I just look at going to the SKC Orlando game and doing a Disney World thing this year?
Mm-hmm. Or not just even Disney World, but Universal's opening their brand new theme park too.
Who you telling? It's all I can think about. Yeah, but I gotta be cleared, bro. I can't have the Harry Potter Forbidden Journey rickshawing me around and hurting me, Yeah,
you can't be riding on Hagrid's motorbike and not able to do it.
You're also pretty secure in those things. You know what I mean? You're not shifted around if you're protected.
I have, and we'll take our break here in a second, but I have not been to a Universal Studios theme park, or I've never been to Orlando. I haven't even been to Universal Studios Hollywood since I was in 8th grade.
What?
I have not been since they've created any of the Wizarding World stuff.
Orlando's insane.
I know, but I've never.
Dude, there's like little gyms that aren't even new stuff. You know what I mean? Like the Hulk roller coaster.
I thought you said gyms, like GYM, and I was like, of course Dan will fucking go to a theme park and find like a place to work out in the middle of the theme park.
Gotta find a good workout, bro. But I mean, there's a little Spider-Man ride that'll make you puke. That's good shit.
I do think I would like it. I just, when I was in LA, I don't know. When I was a kid, I always liked Disneyland more than Universal Studios, but I think Universal's come a long way since then. And also when they built the Wizarding World, I hadn't seen any of the Harry Potter movies because I wasn't allowed to as a child, so it didn't do anything for me. Now I'm a big Harry Potter fan, so I'm like, I need to go. I need to experience the Wizarding World. I need to drink some butterbeer. I need to go on the Forbidden Journey, but one day. So let's take our break real quick here, and then we'll come back and we'll talk a little soccer.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your #1 source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com.
Success in real estate takes more than vision. It takes the right financial partner. When someone takes something rundown and turns it into something great, that's called a comeback story, like Brain Group. They take distressed properties here in KC, completely rework them, and then turn them into valuable real estate. But that kind of work needs the right bank behind it. Enter Emprise Bank. They're not about cookie-cutter loans. They saw Brain Group's vision. backed them, and now they're making big moves in Kansas City real estate. Talk about your partner in possible. Emprise doesn't do one-size-fits-all financing. They invest in potential and back growth. Visit emprisebank.com/KC to learn more. Emprise Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Buddy, I am back on my movie watching game, as you know,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw Mickey 17.
Oh, how is it? It looks interesting.
It was a lot of fun. Maybe not fun, but it had, and it was good. Really good movie.
Yeah. Okay. I'll have to check it out.
You like Parasite? You like Snowpiercer?
I've never seen Snowpiercer. I did like Parasite.
No, okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So no, I've been on my TV show Kick lately because of my dog's recovery, not really going many places. So
new Daredevil show.
I haven't watched that yet. I need to. I know.
Oh,
I know.
Yeah, that's good television.
I know. Well, now that I've finished Severance, obviously, because I binged Severance in the last 2 weeks.
That's the new hot number.
So I'm all good on Severance.
This guy's like, I can't wait for the finale, and it's like we've been waiting 3 years, and you're like, oh, I just started watching.
I
I was so mad at you. I was like, I can't believe you don't know what suffering is.
I know. Paradise we've talked about. Obviously, I'm in the midst of The White Lotus and Righteous Gemstones. So
Of course, White Lotus, a lot of penis in that show.
there might be more in Righteous Gemstones.
And Righteous Gemstones, they're back-to-back shows, just hanging dong all over the place.
Like you're
I didn't ask for it, but hey, you gotta love it.
So
You gotta appreciate it.
they do warn you at the beginning of the episode. It's like brief nudity, and you're like, well, there's gonna be a penis.
Yeah, I mean, they don't say brief penal nudity.
No,
They
but
don't.
when it's Danny McBride, you can guess it's probably gonna be a penis.
That it was, I think it's hilarious. I'm like, oh, hey, look, that's a dick.
It was last season, I think, in Righteous Gemstones when BJ fought the dude who was just butt ass naked.
Why is BJ like they're all the best, right?
Yeah.
The characters themselves. I can't pick a favorite, but it's got to be Edie, man. It's got to be the sister.
Judy.
Yeah, Judy, but I think her real name is
Edie. Yeah, no, they all crap. I don't know. I think my favorite is Keith. Keith
He
is
looks
my
different.
favorite. Dude is jacked. He also looks like
I think he got
12 years.
I think he got really fit, which like tightened his skin tremendously.
He looks old,
Yeah, he looks older or like drugged up, but he got real method.
but he that character is just absolutely insane to me. But it's so funny.
They're great. You watched last night's already?
I did. I don't want to spoil anything. I don't know if Nick watches either White Lotus or Righteous Gemstone, so I don't want to spoil anything for him. At least I'd give a spoiler alert for our listeners. But all I'll say about White Lotus is I don't know what the fuck is happening.
What do you mean? I mean,
What do you mean? What do I mean? You know what I mean.
Incest, if that's what you're talking about.
It was. I mean, I thought last week's was a little bit of a yikes with that, and then it got weirder.
Quite yikes. Quite yikes.
Anyway, before we talk about the LAFC game, I do just want to touch on there was technically a U.S. Open Cup game that Sporting Kansas City as an organization participated.
Forgot about that.
Obviously, the senior team did not play. It was SKC2 versus the Des Moines Menace, and it was the Des Moines Menace made up of 2014 MLS All-Stars. Like the average age, I think SKC2 put up was like a 15-year age difference. It was just over 20 years old for Sporting KC2 starting 11, and nearly more than 35 years old for the Des Moines Menace starting 11.
Bro, Benny Feilhaber was born in the same year as me, and he's out there. He's 40 years old, okay? And he's out there playing people he coached like last year, which I think is kind of dope. Like if I'm a kid and I'm like, hey, my coach is on the other team, that's pretty weird.
You imagine the shit talking both ways?
Oh, I'm sure. He's probably like, hey, come on, young guns. And they went over and did some celebration after a PK. He was like holding his lower back like they're old and stuff. I was like, this is ridiculous. Glad they won on penalties. That's all that was.
Well, that's the bummer. Obviously, Sporting KC2 lost 2-1. It was because of 2 penalties. Unfortunately, our good friend, the Barty Party, gave up a penalty. But, a lot of people said SKC2 didn't look good, and obviously they didn't score when they had a couple chances, especially early on. I mean, I thought they looked decent early on in the game. I mean, it was clear that there was a 15-year age gap pretty early. And I was like, there was a moment where I was like, this might get ugly for Des Moines.
It was speed, right?
It was speed. I mean, they were SKC2 in the first 10, 15 minutes were just kind of going at Des Moines.
Sure.
And then I think the wily wisdom of old age kicked in for Des Moines, and they were able to do what they need to do. And freaking Sasha Kleshtin scoring 2 penalty kicks, and it was annoying.
It's unfortunate. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it'd be crazy to play against those legends at that, stage in your career.
Right. Well, and the wind was insane because it was the night we had like 70-mile-an-hour gusts. So that was the other thing. I'm not
A blizzard morning, right?
Yeah, I'm not saying this was the reason, but like I almost wish SKC2 was going with the wind in the second half because they were going against the wind in the second half, and it made it a lot harder to get like any sort of power on a shot because you'd watch a goal kick against the wind, it would get hung up in the air about like halfway to the midfield line and just sort of float out of bounds. You couldn't do anything. So
yeah, it was crazy. I saw one of those penalties probably should have been called for offsides anyways before the penalty
offside, but no VAR.
No VAR in that, so who cares, man? Whatever.
That's
becoming a sham.
The chants were hilarious. You could hear the crowd on the stream, and even the commentators were cracking up. I've never heard commentator. I mean, because it was very loud. All the SKC fans who were there, the ball.
I had it muted. I didn't know. I just had it on.
Yeah, there was lots of ball jokes. Chants about the top of your head looks cold and all sorts of and the commentators literally are cracking up and they're like, okay, I feel a little attacked now with some of these jokes and
hilarious.
And then at one point in the second half, the SKC supporters started chanting, "We're all out of bald jokes. We're all out of bald jokes." And then they thought of more and they started chanting, "We've got more bald jokes," which was kind of funny. And then toward the end of the game, they just started chanting, "We're cold and we're sober." It's like, I mean, hey, if you were one of the fans who braved that weather, kudos to you, because that's crazy.
It's pretty wild. I saw some people out there, though, that I knew. I was like, man, you guys, I'm not going to call you dumb. I'm going to call you passionate. Like, that's what that is.
I know Chad Smith was there to cover the game. He was sitting inside for most of the game, but he said he was doing some interviews after the game, and his fingers nearly froze in just 10 minutes of doing interviews. So
it's too much, man. Way too much. Where was that game?
It was at Swope Park.
Swope. Okay, so they didn't play at because they had been playing in Lawrence at the KU practice stadium for a bit or so, where KU plays, right?
No, I'm pretty sure this was over at Swope Park.
Okay, so, I think you're right.
Yeah, but the wind was crazy. So, but hey, kudos to those who showed up. Des Moines, I mean, I don't think they're going to make it out of the next round. You could tell that, there's some historic quality there with Justin Miram and Dax and Benny and Ozzy Alonso and BWP and Sasha and
BWP. Yeah. We watch him on our televisions on like pre-shows for MLS.
He and Sasha both. That's what was crazy. I was like, we have literal MLS employees are beating Sporting Kansas.
MLS analysts are that's so crazy, dude. But man, look, kudos to Des Moines because people will watch. That'll get people to watch.
They will watch, and they'll sell jerseys. And AJ De La Garza, after the game, he tweeted out, he was like, well, that sucked. Like, he did not have a good time in that weather.
Probably not.
But it was pretty funny.
Who's actually on that team? And did they get to play?
Oh, what also weird sighting? Felipe Hernandez.
Yeah, right? I mean, he's a comeback. The comeback's on.
He was on the bench, and I was like, there's no way it is the same Felipe Hernandez. And it is.
Hey,
it was.
Scared of money don't make money.
Well, hopefully Felipe Hernandez is not anything with his money right now in terms of sports betting.
Gambling jokes. Shouldn't make him.
But hopefully he's doing well. I liked the guy as a person. And he was a decent player. I just, obviously things didn't go his way. So hopefully he's on the straight and narrow, we'll say.
Don't bet on USL. I mean, we say don't bet on MLS. Definitely don't bet on USL.
You're going to say don't bet on the U.S. men's national team. Don't do that.
Hey, transition much? Definitely don't. Fourth place, baby.
Touch on that a little later. But let's talk about this LAFC game because we knew coming into this game that, or we at least knew that Dennis Bouanga wasn't going to be there for LAFC. He was on international duty.
That's exciting.
That's good. He's like
great player.
One of the best players in the league. So when the team is missing their best attacker and one of the best players in the league, that's a positive. You think, okay, maybe there's a chance there. We also knew that Olivier Giroud wasn't going to be playing. He was on the injury report. Okay, so 2 of their better attacking players are gone. This is still LAFC. They still have Under, who is their new signing, the Turkish player. They got Nathan Ordaz. They got David Martinez. But it's a younger front line that's less proven than Giroud, who's done it at the highest levels in the EPL, even if he's old now. But still, damn good beard. And Nez Bouanga. So I'm thinking SKC is going to have a chance. It might be steal a couple points while some of LAFC's best players are nowhere to be found because they're on international duty and or injured. And then we see the lineup, and I'm like, okay, a pretty straightforward lineup for Sporting Kansas City, but Jansen Miller is getting his first start at center back. So a little nervous because Fernandez unavailable, and obviously Danny Rosero still battling back from an injury. Our entire back line, it seems, is injured in some way, form or fashion. And I don't know. I mean, it was pretty clear, pretty quick that LAFC, even though they weren't winning the majority of possession, they were doing more with the possession they had. Because Sporting had a lot of possession in the first half and just didn't really do anything with it, which I feel like is sort of the MO of Sporting at this point. Have the ball, pass it around the back line, no real off the ball movement. And I obviously we were at the game. We weren't watching on the broadcast, but apparently the commentator for MLSsoccer.com and Apple TV, Kinder de St. Aubin, was just lambasting Sporting KC for the lack of movement offensively, lack of production, lack of creativity. And I feel like this is just sort of it now. It seems like there's no real, I can't think of a light at the end of the tunnel at this point.
No, man. I think, God dang it, there was a Twitter account, a guy who tweets all the time about this, X account, whatever. He said something like, it's not that Sporting fans don't care. It's an apathy. Was it Mike? Was it down the byline?
I think it was Mike Kuhn, down the byline, he said.
Okay. And it's so true. He was like, man, he's like, I had to be somewhere, but I could have made the game back in the day. I would have rushed it there just to see the game, but I just did not want to. And it's like, I get that, dude. Like, I was streaming KC Current during the first half of this game because they had a pretty exciting thing going on against a good Washington Spirit team. And I would look up every now and then to see Jansen playing pretty damn well, dude. Like, I was very happy with his performance back on the defensive line. But like, I find myself laughing every time we get scored on. I find myself not having a lot of hope for the future. And something else that I saw online, I think it might have been Mike again, that he said a lot of players just go out there and do it and just play the game. But Sporting, it looks like a million things have to go correct to get the ball into the back of the net. Yeah. And it's so true, man. Like, Eric Tommy will try to do a one-on-one. It gets taken. Jovic is like putting his hand up for service. It's like, sorry, Jov, we got no one to get it to you, bro. Mm-hmm. Like, and you're like covered. What, you're not open. What are you doing? It's just weird. I'm sorry you had to come from LA to be here, bro. Like, and the weather sucks for you. What a horrible time for you.
Yeah, it was a bummer, and I think that's a totally fair assessment. That everything seems to have to go right for Sporting, and if any one thing goes wrong, they're not going to get a result. Whereas other teams have some cushion where some things can go wrong, but they still manage to find ways to win. So, let's go ahead and let's take our second break here before we dive into some of the goals that have been scored in this game. But we'll take our second break, and we'll be right back.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network.
Bro, you should have seen me walking upstairs yesterday, man, for like the second time in my life. And my life. I feel like this is a new life for me. That's very weird. Very weird to consider that I'm even like putting shoes on by myself. Like, I used to have my Marissa, who's my driver, personal assistant, chef for a while, like all the things. It's been crazy.
Yeah, it is a little wild. It certainly makes you realize how much you take for granted just being able to do like basic everyday things on your own.
Yeah. And this isn't, what's crazy is that this isn't some injury I had. This is something that just happened over time, and
right.
You only have one body, man. And if anyone has like joint stuff, easier said than done. but go in and get it taken care of, because like you got to advocate for yourself. But in the American healthcare system, I understand maybe your deductible is really high and whatnot.
Right.
But now that I've hit my deductible, my friend, you think I'm not going in and getting all the surgeries?
And every single thing I can get.
You think I'm not getting free therapy the rest of the year? Like I'm doing all the stuff, bro.
Oh yeah.
Like
Absolutely.
those 6 free sessions that were given through my wife's employer, I'm like, yeah, we'll do those, but also I'm going to keep going.
I'm going to keep doing after. Yeah.
It's part of it, you know?
When I was in a car crash back in 2015, it was like a multi-year thing. Some lady hit us from behind. She wasn't insured. She had a suspended license. We had to go to court and testify. It was a whole thing.
Holy shit.
But I remember hitting my deductible that year, and I went to the chiropractor every week after that for the rest of the year. I was like, it's covered. The chiropractor took insurance. The insurance covered it. I was like, I got to go. They'll give me an adjustment. Then they put me on the little massage table. Then they give me the little stem thing where they put in the pads on my back and doing a little electricity. I was like, if I can do this every week and I don't have to pay for it, 100%.
Dude, I'm going to get my primary to sign off on like a full body scan and just be like, check me out. Do I have some problems?
That scares me.
Why?
I know like it's better to know things than to not know things, but also I'm like, you're going to get a full body scan that's going to be like, oh, there's 74 things wrong with you. And
okay, let's take care of the big ones.
Yeah. And I know.
Seriously, dude.
It's the why.
I have like if I have like a fracture in my foot that like hasn't healed right or something, like I have things that I'm like, that's a weird tweak. That feels weird. Let's get it done.
Do you ever just sitting there, and we will get back to soccer here in a second. You ever just sitting there and like you're just watching TV and then out of nowhere you feel like a pain in like, I don't know, somewhere on your body randomly, nowhere consequential, but it'll be like, you know, oh, and in your forearm, all of a sudden there's like a sharp pain for a second. You're like, what went wrong in my body just there where that happened out of nowhere and I wasn't doing anything?
Yeah. And it could just be nerve shit, dude. Could be nothing at all.
And it, more often than not, it probably isn't. It's nothing. It goes away but like I can't help but sit there and be like, what just went wrong in my body? Something.
100%.
Something went wrong.
You got to get out of bed carefully in the morning. You don't know what you're going to tweak.
Yeah. Well, I have in my 30s, and you know, I'm sure we have some younger listeners. You'll get there one day, and then we have other listeners about our age who understand. I have to have a special pillow now, and I have to sleep a certain way because if I don't have my special pillow, I literally pack it with me when I go on vacation because my neck will be sore sometimes for months if I sleep wrong. So I have to have my orthopedic pillow and sleep. I can't sleep on my stomach anymore, even though naturally I want to sleep on my stomach because that's not good for you.
It's not.
So it's
got to sleep on your back, dude. Vampire style.
I can't always stay on my back, but I've at least trained myself at least to go onto my side. I don't go onto my stomach anymore because when you're on your stomach and your neck is turned a certain way, not only was it hurting my neck, it was making my jaw clicking infinitely worse because it was putting so much pressure on my jaw. But
did you know it's better to sleep on your left side?
Interesting.
Yeah. That's like where the heart is and things flow a little better. Yeah.
I know. Okay.
Think about that.
Well, speaking of heart, Sporting KC should show some, but they haven't really. But in this game, like we said, Sporting had a lot of possession. It wasn't really meaningful possession. And, you know, then in the 18th minute, again, Sporting KC kind of trying to build out of the back. It's actually Jansen Miller who had the ball, and unfortunately, this is not in his skill set. I will say Jansen Miller, I think, by and large, played close to as good of a game as he could have played. He was put in a bad situation.
Thought he played pretty well, to be honest, man. He had some moments where I was like, okay, attaboy.
He showed effort. If there was somebody who was showing heart on Sporting's team on Saturday night, it was Jansen Miller. The dude was trying.
Oh, yeah.
And so credit to him. But he loses the ball in the midfield here. LAFC gets the ball. Jake Davis just gets all sorts of turnaround. Jake did not have a good game. David Martinez is out on the left wing. Now, I will say, this was a fucking cannon of a shot that he put inside the near post that Polskamp couldn't stop. But he's a very good young player. I mean, if you don't know who David Martinez is before this, you should know who David Martinez is now because he's going to be one of the best attackers in MLS and not terrible.
Pretty great shot.
But this was a laser. Jake gets turned around and he just sends it inside near post. John gets a fingertip to it, but it was 1-0 in the 18th minute. And then it just kind of felt like, okay, well, that's at that point, this is how you know it's not going well for SKC. When they went up 1-0 in the 18th minute, it felt insurmountable. I don't know if it felt that way to you, but it felt that way to me.
Yeah, it felt it was LAFC, man. Like they were just going to keep coming. Even the highlights showed it. Like we weren't featured too much in that highlight package. It was just a case of we don't have the players to match up with those players. We never really have. LA just keeps getting better, it seems, every year. I don't know what we need to do.
Were you surprised that Eric Tommy got the start again over Daniel Shalhoub?
Slightly. Yeah, slightly. I hadn't seen the starting lineup till I got there, so that was even more surprising.
Yeah.
But I think that I don't know, it's not like Daniel did anything better when he came on later on. I mean,
sure. I mean, he made some runs, but again, by the time he comes on, it's 2-0. Like there's only so much, like they've bunkered in at that point. I think my thing is Tommy on the wing. I had hope for it to start the year and I wanted to believe it, but it just, like you said, Tommy plays, I don't know, I'm going to use a basketball term here, I guess, but Tommy plays iso ball a lot. I feel like he gets the ball and it's like he's trying to drive to the rim to get a layup, as opposed to like he's not a distributor. And if you're a winger, I feel like you need to have a little bit more of that sort of point guard distributor mentality on you. You can't be just calling for the ball and then trying to drive the lane to the hoop every time. And it feels like he gets the ball and he heads down and he's driving for a shot.
That's that Frank Mason mentality, baby. But Frank Mason made it look good. But Eric Tommy, it's like he's acting like he's a center forward, and you're not, bro. You got nowhere to go. You're gonna take it into the box, and they take it right from you.
And even when he doesn't have the ball, he's constantly shifting into the midfield. And so when Tommy's a winger and he's constantly moving inside to the midfield, that leaves nobody out on the wing, or it forces whoever's at left back, in this case it was Logan and Ndembe, to go way up even more than, like, there's no overlapping run. It's suddenly now Ndembe's the only person out on the wing. So if he's got to go that much higher up, then when Sporting inevitably turns the ball over, because they do, there's nobody back to cover in the left back position. And Ndembe's got to bust his ass to get back there. Or like what happened last week against, was it last week? Might have been last week. It could have been against DC also. I don't remember. When Ndembe's so far up the field, then that shifts the center backs over and it shifts Jake over, and suddenly you have a lot more space in that back line, and that's what ultimately has led to goals earlier in the season. Is just there's nobody there. So my point is, it's not really working for me with Tommy on left wing, and the results aren't coming. So I know we talked about last week. Is there something weird with Peter and Daniel Shalhoub going on right now? I don't know, but like if it's not working, then try something different, because Tommy's not it. And I know he's your captain, but he's kind of the captain by default, I feel like.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'd like to see him try something different. But
Agreed.
After Martinez scored, they almost doubled the lead moments later. Under, their Turkish forward, he sent a crazy looking ball that went off the woodwork. It was like in slow motion, but it also like was a crazy curver that went over Pulskamp and bounced off the crossbar. So it could have been 2-0. Ultimately ended up becoming 2-0 in the 54th minute. Again, off of a set piece. Pulskamp makes a good save. Hollingshead gets a free header. Pulskamp saves it, but he can't catch it. No, there's nothing Pulskamp can really do here. Aaron Long gets there to clean it up. Again, it's just too easy. Too easy off set pieces. And I feel like we're literally a broken record every week where it's like, oh, another set piece goal. And the rest was history. 2-0. Sporting had like one chance where Manu Garcia forced a good save, and that was basically it. And Sporting lost.
Yep.
So this was the first game where Peter didn't seem to try to sugarcoat it after the game. He said, I actually think the easy way for me to say it is they were better than us. They were better than us through the run of play. They moved the ball very well, especially right up the middle. They were very good against us. We had the ball a lot, but I don't think we were dangerous enough with it in the final for the final pass or the final challenge. We had some good service in the box, but the runs weren't there at the time, or they were and the ball wasn't there. Overall, they were just better than us. So, which I guess, like, it's good that, because I was worried that we were going to get the same type of Peter quote after the game where it was like, we played really well, and we had a lot of good things, and obviously, take away the 2 goals, and we played a really good game, because that's sort of what he's been saying for a while. And I'm like, there's only so many times you can say that before people lose their minds. I just
say, man,
yeah, it sucks, and honestly, it wasn't the same level of sort of like, not, I don't even know if despair is the right word, but like last year at one point, was last year, the year before, when Johnny Russell was like, I don't even know what to say anymore. It wasn't quite that way in the locker room, but it's getting a lot closer to there, a lot faster than I'd like it to be.
it's getting real close.
It's like Manu Garcia, we were talking to him after, and he was like, yeah, we still believe there's a lot of good talent on the team. We have a lot of work to do. We still think we can do it. Obviously, the results aren't going our way, but we have to believe. Like, so he's trying. Jansen Miller, it sucked because we talked to him. We were like, hey, Peter said you're a bright spot. He's like, I guess that's cool, but also, like, we lost, so I'm not happy.
Yeah, he's like, cool, glad I'm bright in a team of darkness.
So it's just, I don't know. That locker room it's in a tough spot right now. And I know we've been probably on the more conservative side of like the whole, like, should Peter Vermes still be the coach discussion. Like we've for a long time been like, well, the ownership didn't give the support, this or that. It's becoming increasingly difficult to defend a lack of change in some way.
Very much so.
I mean, this is I'm not saying I'm sitting here and like openly calling for him to be fired, but what I am saying is, if you look at, and Jeff Reuter of The Athletic last couple weeks ago, or last week when Sporting were down 3-0, was putting up, like, look at what Sporting has been over the past 3 seasons. And it's like overall like a minus 37 goal differential or something. And they are averaging, like, finishing like second to last in the West, and now we're in the midst of a 12-game winless streak, and in the middle of that is a 10-game losing streak. And like, I can't think of another situation where there wouldn't be not even just questions about whether the coach is on the hot seat, but if the coach would still even be here when it's that bad. And not only are there questions about, is Peter on the hot, like, there's nobody who's really thinking he's like close to being fired. There's questions about if he's even on the hot seat because of how committed ownership is to him. And that's a very difficult position for fans to be in who want to care about this team, because if it doesn't feel like there's hope on the horizon and nothing's really changing, then it sucks. So
it sucks a lot, man.
I guess I don't remember if I talked about this last week or not, but we talked about it briefly before the podcast. But for me, if there is a chance that there will be a change, it's not coming after Dallas. The first opportunity, and this, I have no information. I'm not at all sitting here saying this is going to happen. I just, like, this would be the first, like, if Sporting loses ugly to Dallas and then Sporting loses ugly again at home to St. Louis, it's after St. Louis where I think if there was a move that was going to be made, it would be after that game. And it's maybe not even because of what's happening on the field. It's because of what would be happening in the stands. Because if you lose that game after losing Dallas, let's just play this out, that would be 14 straight competitive matches without a win. 13 of them are losses. You just lost at home to your main rival, and they're probably going to take over the stadium. And it will be at that point that ownership looks at this and goes, we have a problem. But that would require ownership to be paying some form of attention.
Yeah.
So
good point.
I don't think that'll happen, but if people are looking for, okay, when would potentially the first opportunity be for a change, I think that would be it. If it doesn't happen then I don't know. I honestly don't know if it would or when.
You have zero information here. I don't think that there is any way to.
This is all purely hypothetical.
It's speculation. It is what it is. You think Peter would be very angry with you right now. Very angry. So
probably.
Peter, I didn't say this. That's all.
It's just, and again, I want to be clear. Like, I'm not sitting here saying this is going to happen or this should happen or whatever. Like, I think hopefully if people have been listening to us, and if there are people from the club who have been listening to us, I think we have been, far more on the side of like defenders of the club and of Peter for many, many years, when people have been like vocally screaming Vermes out for a long time. And it, for much of that time, I think unnecessarily. I just think, do I think Peter Vermes is a bad coach? No. Do I think, given the right circumstances, he could coach a competitive team still in Major League Soccer? Yes. But I think you also have to take into sort of the context. And again, I will say this isn't all Peter Vermes' fault. It sucks that he was put in the position by ownership if he wasn't getting the support financially or in terms of planning or transfer or whatever, front office staff from ownership for 2 years. And I do believe legitimately that a lot of the reasons Sporting has struggled over the last couple of years are from some factors that are outside of Peter's control. At a certain point, perception does become reality. And if you're ownership and you are seeing ticket sales drop, you are seeing your stadium empty, you are seeing away crowds take over, and if making a move at the head coach, whether you think it's the right move or wrong move, will stop the bleeding financially a little bit, at some point, I would think as a business owner, you have to consider it. But I don't know. All I know is they're going on the road to Dallas. Things always get weird in Dallas. Feels like we always struggle there. And last time we played in Dallas at the end of last year, it was October. They lost 2-1. Dallas just beat Salt Lake on the road. I don't know, man. I can't say, Dallas isn't great, but they're much better than we are. They're sitting in 8th place right now. They allow some goals. They've allowed 8 goals throughout the year. We've allowed 10. They're beatable, but again, there's nothing this Sporting team has shown to indicate that we're going to go on the road to a place where we've struggled in the past and do anything.
I don't. Yeah, unless you show me something, man, I don't know what to. I don't know what to say about this upcoming game. Nothing about it really excites me. Right. I will be at the KC Current game for like the majority of this, and driving during the second half. So it'll be on. I'll be listening, but we'll see what happens.
Well, in the Current, they're exciting. They're fun.
Well, of course.
They got friggin' Temwach Wingo bossing people off the ball and stealing balls from goalkeepers and scoring goals, and then their teal kits that look good as hell, and
Tune in tomorrow for the best podcast on Kansas City Sports Network.
There you go.
We'll talk all about it.
Currently, they're going to talk. And a road win against the Washington Spirit, one of the best teams in the NWSL. That's nothing to sneeze at.
Nothing to sneeze, man. Ain't no sneezing.
No sneezing here.
No.
I don't know, man. It sucks. We're gonna keep doing this. We'll try to get some people on for some interviews. Maybe we'll get Pulse Camp on, or we'll see who we're able to get on and talk to. Maybe we'll get Jansen Miller on. Probably wouldn't have been the best time today to talk to him, because I think after that game they're a little frustrated. So hopefully we can get some people on and talk to them when they're in a little bit better moods. So
Joveljic, man, a new player would be very awesome. Someone who moved his entire life,
Yep, we'll try to make that happen too. Outside of Sporting, MLS is
I'm enjoying watching other games. I'll tell you that.
Charlotte, they're scoring some goals. They look good.
The Austin San Diego game on Sunday was a blast.
Austin San Diego, that was fun. Portland finally showed some signs of life. Philadelphia took down St. Louis. Orlando put up 4 goals on DC United. So there's some fun stuff that's happening around the league. Cincy and Atlanta, I didn't watch that game live, but you were watching that game. That was crazy earlier in the day on Saturday.
That was wild, man. Good for good for them to come back and Atlanta to earn that draw. It was crazy. They were going to lose, and then an own goal happened at the end. Devastating for Cincinnati.
It's so funny when, as a neutral fan, I think there's almost nothing funnier than when something like that happens. It's the worst feeling in the world when it happens to your team. But when you're just a fan of the sport and you're watching it and then it happens, I get so excited.
Yeah, man. And I'm really loving some of these games, getting individual attention throughout the day. Mm-hmm. A 1:30 slot, a 3:30 slot, and then everything else is at night. So it is cool to have little featured games like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Outside of MLS, there was the CONCACAF Nations League that happened. USA lost to Panama 1-0 on Thursday last week. That was not good. We should not be losing to Panama. Now, it was a banger of a goal Panama scored, but the U.S. should never have been in that position. So Panama went on to play Mexico in the final, and the U.S. were playing Canada in the third place game. And the U.S. lost to Canada 2-1. And it was not a good showing. It was the first time that Canada won in a competitive match against the U.S. men's national team on American soil since a World Cup qualifying victory in St. Louis in 1957. So
I don't even know what to say.
I think there were a lot of people that were really excited when Mauricio Pochettino was hired, big-time English Premier League manager, coach Tottenham, coach Chelsea, he's that Euro pedigree that you want. And then I think you sort of look at the performance that the U.S. men's national team, I mean, this is what our golden generation is what they've been called. And it seems like they're maybe just not that good, unfortunately.
Yeah, agreed.
Like headed into the world, like they got the Gold Cup, and that's about the only thing left before the World Cup next year. And the World Cup's here on American soil. And again, it's hard. Like they play like they did in this tournament, they're crashing out in the group stage. I hope it doesn't happen, but
right.
This is there's not a lot of confidence being built right now. So I don't know. We'll see. I'll watch the Gold Cup, and I hope that there's something different. They show a little bit more life, but I don't know. The last thing I do want to mention is we did again get a really great long email from one of our listeners, Alex Brown. Alex, really appreciate it. Always enjoy hearing your thoughts via the email. I know you're not on social media right now, which is probably a blessing. I think we talked about a lot of the stuff you mentioned, Tommy being on the wing. Shoppy, we didn't really talk about Shoppy, but Shoppy's trying. He's just not getting a lot of help out there either. So, what's the problem? I mean, the midfield is not great. We really need Jake in the midfield. They do think, Peter did say he thinks Jake will get back to the midfield this week. So,
well that's fun. Because didn't Montreal just fire their head coach?
I think so. I mean, they lost 3-0 to Nashville.
And we are at the bottom of the table with them. So I don't know what yeah, they sure did. 3 hours ago, they parted ways. So pretty wild when people in the same predicament as us start moving on from coaches, and we're rebuilding, folks. So get on the train. Stop talking about it, Jimmy.
It is funny because I saw someone last week. They were like, who do you think is going to be the first coach fired? Is it going to be Caleb Porter? Is it going to be Peter Vermes? And someone replied, and they were like, well, the hard thing to know is occasionally Joey Saputo, who owns the Montreal Impact, he's like, occasionally Joey Saputo wakes up and remembers he owns a soccer team and decides he wants to fire the coach. So it could be Montreal. And a week later, Montreal's the first one to fire their head coach. So I don't know, man. It's rough out here in these streets for Sporting KC. So, but
it's insane.
You got anything else you want to say to our good listeners?
No, man. That's it. That is everything. Nothing to preview this weekend because we kind of can just expect more of the same.
Well, anyways, thank you all so much for listening. Please leave us that 5-star rating and review. Let us know in your reviews, what do you want us to focus on? Because obviously Sporting on the field is not great right now. So more player interviews. Do you want us to interview fans? What do you want us to talk about to try to give us some form of joy in the midst of the terrible Sporting Kansas City season? You can also shoot us an email, nootherpod@gmail.com. You can reach us on social at nootherpod, at Dan Kooser, at JCMac03. You can leave us a comment on YouTube at KCSN Soccer, or you can find us on the Kansas City Sports Network app. But until next time, he's Dan, I'm Jimmy. We'll catch y'all later. See ya.
Another loss this weekend? Who knows?